Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. Kia ora, I'm Charmaine Soljak. I'm Te Arawa, I'm Tainui, and I love being in this role that I have. Our tribe actually brought me into radio at a time where I was quite young. I was 17 years old, and they were grooming me to be the radio announcer that I am now. Back then, our old people have got some really awesome vision, which is, really delightful. So this has been my career since I was 17, and cheers Te Arawa Trust Board, you rock. And still doing what the old people set out to have me do, which is awesome. I've been in radio since I was 17. I've worked across both of the biggest networks that we have in New Zealand. We have the biggest radio market in the world for a tiny country, which is really delightful. And I would not have picked this as my industry for myself because I was really shy. And I used to go bright red when I spoke and like shake and sweat. Like even now I've got a bit of a sweaty mo, but hopefully you can't see it. And it's been a good time. Like it's been a really, really cool time. I guess... I think the biggest lesson for me that I've learned so far in this industry is to be authentic, like be real, like be really real. And I think the greatest broadcasters that we have in this country are really real. They're really authentic. What you're seeing is what you're going to get. You know, they're like a box of Weet-Bix. They're really real. I think for my younger self, I'd tell myself just to calm down. Calm down. It's going to be all right. Just calm down. And the industry's changed over the years. So when I first started my career, I was on turntables and we had records and albums, you know, the LPs and the 45s. My first show was on Radio Te Arawa in Rotorua, and it was a Māori access scheme back then. And I think back to how completely out of not normal that I thought that was for me. And I thought everyone was crazy when they thought that they should teach me to do this thing. But Te Arawa Trust Board wanted young Māori broadcasters who were going to be allies for Māori in the future. And it's been a really cool ride. My first show was on a LP. And I had it set on 45 and it was a Robin Trower special. So, it was a long learning curve for me technically because I'm not geared that way. And I'm a little bit ADHD. Yeah, really. So what's cool about my superpower, ADHD, I mean, you got CP, which is cool, but mine's kind of cool too. So I can sit in front of 4 screens and it can be quite hectic and I can do a lot of things in a really short space of time and it doesn't freak me out so much. Yeah, there is. There's a huge amount of pressure to get things done at an early age, and I think that's residual from our parents. Oh gosh, I saw your mother, by the way. She's beautiful. I can tell that you've got your mother's looks. That's so cool. I think our parents, they've got to, hurry up. They want to make sure that you're going to be okay and that we're all good. So, there's a little bit of a rush with young people. And I don't think that's changed much. With my kids, I know I'm looking and I'm thinking, are they going to be all right? Are they going to be all right? And they are. They're really all right. And we've done really well as a family group. But I think that you're going to be all right too. Look at you and your fancy stuff. It's so cool. about being fit and CrossFit. I think it's important to be fit because, like in sport, you learn capacity to deal with a lot, and it has you be really settled in life. And like through the most extraordinary times of my life, I've always trained, and I've always made sure to take care of my tinana. It takes care of my spirit and my well-being. Certainly takes care of my head. So I do CrossFit. I've done half marathons in the past when I was super fit. There was one time at band camp. You know, but I loved it, and I love that feeling of running. For me was about being light and free and easy. I've got Cody thighs, you know, like I've got little Cody fat thighs, so it must have looked hilarious, but it was, you know, it's okay, and it really helped me settle and calm my head. And I think being out in nature when I was running a lot was really great. On the Tutukaka coast, I could tell you where every massive eel was and every stream, because you start to pay attention to the nature of stuff. And now I do CrossFit, which is because I'm older. I'm older. I'm going to be 54 any day now. And as you age, you need to take care of your muscles and make them stronger. So CrossFit provides that for me. It's really challenging. I grew up in a house where my dad, he's like not much taller than me. Maybe he's a little bit shorter than me now. But he used to do flips up the hall in our house. So he was in a gymnast and could do these crazy things on rings and stuff that you see in the Olympics. So CrossFit is a bunch of cross training, and we do Olympic lifting, we do gymnastics, we do strength work. We do stuff that really hurts, and we pay for them to do that to us. Like, we actually pay. But it's really good for my body. Like, I'm really strong. I can lift 100 kilos pretty much any day of the week, and that's, you know, I'm 5'2". That's pretty awesome. I don't know if Lady Gaga can lift that, because she's 5'2" too. But yeah, it's all good. It's funny, you know, so what interactions do I have with disabled people? Locally in Whangarei and across Te Tai Tukiero, we've got the Getting Out There Expo, which comes up in a week's time, so I'll be hosting that. Johnny, who runs it, Johnny Wilkinson, I've known Johnny for years, and it was really cool meeting you, because I've never had someone with cerebral palsy that I could ask questions to without feeling a little bit whakamā, and probably because we've been hanging out all week, which is really cool. Johnny, I've never sat down and had a long yarn with him. Usually it's jokey, and I can't, because I haven't spent much time with him, I can't understand, because you have to sit with someone and listen to them and feel them in order to really appreciate that communication that's going on. So in the past, my grandmother, back in the day, they had IHC schools, is what they called them. That was before we got a little bit more, you know, aware of our language. And my grandmother was the principal of this IHC school down south. And every year my parents, I grew up in Wellington and Wainuiomata, they'd pop me on a plane, and I'd fly to the South Island and be with my grandmother. And I'd go to the school with these kids. You know, everyone said disabilities. I was like, whatever, they're superpowers. And hang out with the kids. And they were all amazing artists, incredible writers. Their creativity was exceptional pretty much every single time. And I was telling Will yesterday that the last time I went home to Westport, I was in the supermarket, and I hadn't been home for like 20-something years. And I was going through the supermarket, and I come around the end of an aisle, and there was Mary. Mary, who I grew up with, she went to this special needs school. And I came around the corner, and she looked at me and she said, "Hello, Charmaine, how are you?" And I said, "Hello, Mary, I'm very well, thanks." You know, I hadn't seen her for 20 years. And she goes, "Are you still painting?" And I said, "Yes." And other stuff. She said, "I bet you I'm still better than you." And I thought, man, it's been 20 years. And she was still doing this rivalry stuff with me like we were young girls again. So funny. So we had this really cool interaction. And I think that, you know, those memories of growing up and when you are around people who have, you know, abilities that you don't, or disabilities, whatever you want to call that, there's a really cool connection that you create with people if you're willing to listen. Are you willing to listen? Yeah, so there was that I was telling Will about, and then years later in the 80s, I had a group of people that I used to go to like a camp, and as a group we'd do all the gardens and take care of it because it was massive, it was huge. And then time went along and I was there one year, and there was a young woman there who was deaf. So she was deaf, and she was trying to clock up a whole lot of experiences. And I said to her, come stay at my house in Rotorua because, you know, we've got thermal pools and we've got these beautiful bushwalks and all this stuff. And she was really cool, and I'm always open to anything, you know, like whatever. And her caregiver said to me, can you do sign? And I said, no. And she said, well, how are you going to talk? I said, well, pretty much, you know, communication is listening, talking, feeling, are you paying attention? So she stayed with and lived with me for a month. We understood each other completely fine. I didn't understand how badly she didn't like chickens. She didn't like chickens. I took her to this farm, there's all these chickens. She freaked out. But other than that, it was, you know, everything was really cool. Yeah. My cousin she's in a wheelchair, and she has got Down syndrome quite badly. And I think as a family, we just include her in everything. And she is in the South Island, so I haven't seen her for a long time. But for us, it's really intentionally speaking and talking with each other like we would anyone else. And it's funny because in our family, we don't talk to babies like they're babies. We talk to kids like they're kids. So we don't do adult down to child, and we don't do child up to adult. Yeah, we speak with each other the way that we intend each other to speak with each other or to communicate with each other. And I think there's something to be said for, you know, everyone has their own understanding of where they sit inside a family group, but also in a community group. And I always get kind of a little bit hoha when I hear people talk at her really loudly, like she's deaf. She's not deaf. Yeah, you too. Yeah, listen. Yeah, I think listening, feeling, and looking at each other makes a big difference. Yeah. I was watching your video before. I cracked up. So you know, Will's podcast, there's a lot in it. There's a lot to unpack. But what I love is Will's sense of humour. So in your video, your podcast where you're explaining cerebral palsy, I was like, CP, I've never referred to it as that. Where have I been this whole time? This is so much easier than saying cerebral palsy. And you said, you know, do we talk like this on purpose or something like that? I was like, no, you do it for fun. Yeah, well, of course. What's your biggest frustration when you're in the public? The knowing the judging? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the little whisper. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that too. I get the same thing. Yeah, just come and ask. Just come and ask. Like questions, just come and ask. It's funny, I was in this conference one year, and this is like, I used to work for this massive company that they did a type of education. It was international. And I went to shake hands one day with a man, and he had his last 2 fingers were fused or something like that. Anyway, he had this little kind of gun-looking hand, And I went to shake his hand and we shook, and then I just held onto his hand and then I turned it like this and I said to him, I've never ever seen that before. Tell me about your fingers. Like, what's going on with that? He goes, oh my God, I've never met anyone that's ever done that to me before. And I just held onto his hand while I'm looking at it and asking him questions, because I thought people probably do that whole awkward thing all the time instead of it's a hand. It's different to my hand. Maybe his hand has got some superpowers, I don't know. But yeah, he was really cool about it and he appreciated the just asking straight up. And there might be a little bit of cheekiness in there because, you know, I'm me, but I think it's really important to just ask. And then knowing, and then you find out and you get the answer. Yeah. I imagine for you as well, do you go out and get coffees and stuff like that? So how do you order kai or a coffee? You use your phone and just type? What's your favourite place to get coffee? This is when we're looking for some brand sponsorship here. Taihoa. Yeah. I just think that it's really important that we have the time to ask questions and to not be shy about it. Because if I get awkward or shy, does that mean you would feel that and feel that as well in the exchange? Yeah. Yeah, and you want to be able to, what else was I going to ask you? You got a particular brand of clothing while we're doing a podcast? And because I know the sponsors are all coming. They're coming. Will? You like some Converse or some stuff like that? The podcasts are actually taking off. So I know a lot of fancy people will be looking at this from time to time. And you've got friends in the corporate arena. And they've got friends and family who have superpowers like Will does. Homai o putia. You are a youngish podcaster. I was really excited when I met you. You're like super groovy to hang out with. Wisdom, keep going. Don't stop. Someone might, or people might give you the sensation that it's enough. You know, thank them for sharing. Use the neutral face. I always use the neutral face. Thank you for sharing and moving right along. Keep going. Keep going. You're into something really special, and I don't know how many people would be doing this with CP, but I think it's really important, and I think, you know, as a country, we could learn a lot from you, is what I think. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't be shy. And just remember, if you get worried or afraid or scared, you know, if you feel fear and excitement have the same physical manifestation on your body. They have the same reaction. So fear is just excitement but undistinguished. Remember that. Be authentic. So the greatest advice I think that I have ever heard and continues to be said in different ways right across my whole life from when I first started in radio was be yourself, be authentic, be true to who you are. There are times when people want me to do a thing and it doesn't align with my values. That's when I have to pause, use the neutral face, and then give them a really long explanation as to why something else is better. Just be true to you. Be your real self. Did someone else cool say that? J-Lo said that. Be yourself. As well. I'm so glad that you took up the opportunity. I really am.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was going to say yes because I was like, what if he says no? I said, Will, come into the studio. Let's do a podcast, bro. And there you are. I was the one that had the sweaty mo. He didn't even. Thank you. Anytime, little brother. Anytime. Make sure you check out the podcast.